KindaSound Radio. We're tuning in for change.
Welcome to The Gifts Within Adversity with me, Stella Grace, and I have my very lovely and very inspirational guest with me today, Jerrie Roberts. Welcome, Jerrie.
Oh, hello, Stella. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so excited to talk to you today and your incredible passions and where that's taken you and your incredible achievements. And I can't wait to get into that a little bit more in a minute. On The Gifts Within Adversity, I chat with a different guest every fortnight around the areas of inspiration or supporting other people with adversity or overcoming adversity in some way that might be inspirational to others. And Jerrie, my goodness, you certainly have bucket loads of inspiration to share. Would you like to introduce yourself and a little bit about your background?
Okay, well, my name is Jerrie Roberts and I'm a designer from the south of England. In my early 20s, I got married. That was 1975 with my previous husband, Chris, and we crossed the Atlantic in a small 29-foot trimaran. We were actually cruising for 5 years, and in between that, picked up some work on the way. But basically, yeah, it was just the time of my life. It's a beautiful memory.
Amazing. And is that then really your earliest experiences of spending considerable duration on the water? Because we're going to come on to your incredible Guinness World Record, aren't we, of your ice miles endurance swimming, which is just such a phenomenal achievement. So you've had these earlier years of experience of time spent on big expanses of water, haven't you?
That's right. I mean, before we actually set sail every weekend between our 5-day-a-week jobs, we'd get on the boat and go over to France or hug the coast of southern England, go to the Channel Islands, very often literally when we left work, and usually only just getting back in time on an early morning to get back to work on the Monday. But yeah, fantastic experiences, some beautiful quiet moments, but the Channel is known for its weather that's just so unpredictable. Even if you've done all your homework, things can happen. So yeah, it was very challenging, but it was a wonderful memories. Yeah, and you can't panic in situations like that. You've got to be disciplined. And my husband taught me a lot, actually. I think I grew up when I was with him because he'd been in the RAF, he'd had military training, and a lot of that rubbed off on me, to become a more organised person, etc.
Oh, amazing. And those hugely transferable life skills, I'm guessing, because you've got the sailing element, haven't you? You've got the, is it called seamanship, where you're learning all the crafts of how to live and navigate on the water and those, what I imagine is quite large stretches of time.
Yes. Yeah.
So you're learning all of those, real key, actually essential survival skills. And I love how already you've kind of touched on mindset in a way, because, it's those challenging times, dealing with the unpredictability of weather, dealing with, boat life or yacht life, which I'm guessing doesn't always run smoothly and isn't always easy.
Yeah, I mean, when we crossed the Atlantic, we had all sorts of weather. We had a third week we were becalmed. The first 2 weeks we had rolling wind and waves behind us, and then it was back to being quite sort of crazy on the last week. It took 4 weeks, but when you've got to, you were in the position in the early stages with this huge, strong following wind, strong following waves, and you can hear these waves coming up behind you and foaming, and you can hear the sound of this water rumbling between the hulls, it was just incredible. And a couple of times we broached, which was pretty hair-raising. Broaching means that as you're coming down on the back of a wave, the bow wants to go sideways to the right or the left. And as soon as that happens, if you let it get to a certain position, the deepest hull will want to bury itself in the water, and then you would capsize. And so at that moment, I was at the helm at one of those times. You know, you're grabbing the tiller, and you were responsible for steering that boat. There's no time to panic. You've just got to deal with the situation. So yeah, we did have hair-raising times.
Yeah, absolutely. I can only imagine such a phenomenal mix of excitement, fear,
Yeah,
all the whole
that.
spectrum of emotions. Yeah, what a wonderful memory, though, a wonderful experience over those years. And am I right in thinking, we touched on this before, Jerrie, when we've spoken, that you have taken on swimming and more active pursuits towards later in life rather than in those early years? So those expanses on the water in terms of your sailing, but later years more active.
Yeah, well, I can't afford a yacht at the moment, so my body's quite good as that now, because I can get right out. I can see the coastline exactly like it is on a yacht, lower down, admittedly. But I do get that sense. And a lot of that sailing experience actually has really held me in good stead, I think, for swimming, you know. So it goes hand in hand. Yes, I love being on the water. I love being in the water, definitely.
I absolutely love that. And I can now fully understand even more why your Instagram name is @Jerrie Mermaid, because you are absolutely a fellow mermaid. And I love that. We're going to come on to your first song choice, and already talking to you, you exude this passion and radiance and inspiration, and I just love it. And I think it's really fitting with your first song choice by Pharrell Williams and Happy, because this is just such an upbeat number.
Absolutely. I have to get up and dance when I hear that one. So if you'll excuse me when you play it.
Feel free, absolutely feel free. And hopefully the listeners will do the same now. So thank you to our lovely Django in the background for playing Happy for us now.
KindaSound Radio, the station for a global community.
Welcome back to the Gifts Within Adversity with me, Stella Grace, and I have my very inspirational fellow mermaid here, Jerrie Roberts. We've been talking about Jerrie's background, incredible yachting background that has led to these incredible, challenging adventures in Jerrie's background that have led to her Ice Mile endurance swim. Now, this is no mean feat, Jerrie, is it? Do you want to explain how you became accustomed to this path of this extreme swimming?
It was years of swimming in the pool, and then progressing to doing open water sea swimming. And then a swim buddy of mine, Ziggy, who's still a swim buddy, known her for years, she wanted to, she had started enjoying going in the water in the winter, whereas I would normally be in the pool. And I went, and I just thought they were all barking, and I didn't like it. But somehow I got drawn in, and I started enjoying doing cold water swimming at very cold temperatures. But the beauty of that is that you can swim all year round. Then you're not just stopping at the end of the summer. You've got that water, you know, for 12 months a year. And then as we got better and progressed, it was actually something my swim buddy wanted to do an ice mile. And most things that she wanted to do, I thought, oh, actually, I might be able to do that. You know, not thinking of my age, but I just thought, yeah, I can do that. Because she is younger than me. And but anyway, it was a journey that we've done together, and it's taken 3 years. And we had some really bad moments because we actually both did ice miles last year in training, but of course they're not recognised because somebody wouldn't believe that you had actually done it. You've got no proof. So the weather was either too warm when we wanted to book to go and have a ratified swim, to have a ratified ice mile. Well, first of all, an ice mile is all you're allowed to wear is a silicone hat and goggles and just a normal swimsuit, swimming costume. There's no thermal stuff, no hats, no booties, it doesn't really keep you warm or anything. It's just for modesty, really, the costume. And the water has got to be 5 degrees centigrade or less. So you're lucky if you get to do one that's 4.9 or 5 degrees and it's a lovely sunny day. Or you might get a bad straw and get it when it's sort of 1 degree, 0 degrees or something. But they don't actually like doing it much below 3 normally. And in my case, on the day that I did it, it was 2.6. Wow. And the air temperature was minus 1.5 degrees centigrade. So it was a very cold day. There was snow on the beach. We were at Loch Lomond. Take that out. At Loch Morlick in the Cairngorms in Scotland, just above Aviemore. It was a mid-morning swim. The sun was coming up from behind the mountains. The water was like glass, the reflection of the sky and the mountains, the snow. It was absolutely ethereal, and all the fir trees were covered in snow. Winter wonderland. So I'm the only person making the ripples on that loch with the escort boat beside me with 2 people who were there ready to pull you out if anything happened, because they're looking out for hypothermia. Mm-hmm. Normally a mile swimming for me in cold water. I tend to slow down. I find I can't swim fast because your heartbeat is beating fast anyway, even though you don't know it. That's what happens when you go into cold water. So I try and be calm. But I must have been very calm that day because I took just under 55 minutes to do it. So not only was I ended up being the oldest person to have swum an ice mile, it's pretty much getting on. I haven't had the facts and figures, but it was maybe one of the longest. And it was a cold, extreme ice mile as well. So I'm proud of myself because it's been hard getting there. As I say, going through the years and getting to a stage when you're ready to perform and so ready, but you can't because the weather's too warm or the water's too warm or the venue's snowed out, then nobody can come to the venue. You name it, we had it. So to actually have found that window that we had this year was amazing. We only had 2 days that they were going to allow to try and do ice miles. And by the afternoon, it got really cold. And the following day, they couldn't do any ice miles because the loch had started freezing over. And when we left on the second day, the whole of the loch was absolutely frozen. So that pocket of time, all that training that it takes, and it all depends on a few hours on a day, whether you can get to do it. In my case, yeah. So wow. Long journey.
Absolutely phenomenal journey. And that tenacity that is behind that journey is phenomenal, isn't it? I mean, there's so many aspects, Jerrie, about your journey and your energy that I absolutely love and I think are so inspirational for me and for anybody listening. But there's just so much there. And the fact that you went through all that training and when did you start? Because you received the world record for the oldest lady or the oldest person.
Yes, yeah. I need the men as well.
Wow. Oh, amazing. What a phenomenal woman you are. And so the oldest person to swim an ice mile and also to find swimming in the way that you did in the extreme training way that you did, to find that quite further down the road in life, didn't you?
Sorry, can you repeat that? In the sense of...
Because you weren't swimming in your younger years in those training sense.
No, it's quite amazing because I actually nearly drowned at 7. My mother wasn't looking and I was following I asked my sister to look after me. My sister's about 5 years older than me. We're walking in the water, but it didn't occur to me at 7 that my sister was taller than me. So I just carried on walking. She was about sort of 5 or 6 meters ahead of me. And I obviously ran out of ground. And the next minute I'm blubbering under the water. Well, I wasn't blubbering. I mean, we didn't have a TV in those days. So I hadn't seen fantastic films with beautiful rays of sunlight coming through the water, turquoise water, and it's all bubbling. But that's what I saw. And I was just totally fascinated. And I thought, this is great. had no idea about drowning. But anyway, obviously a man picked me up and took me to my mother. But honestly, if I had gone that day, it would have been quite pleasant.
Wow, it's
For that
phenomenal.
time, I never had any of that fear. So yeah, from going to just normal swimming in swimming pools and snorkeling, having done a bit of diving, it was just moving to Torquay in the last sort of 11 years and living by the sea that got me to think, really falling in love with sea swimming, and progressively over the years taking my clothes off, if you like, because I used to wear a wetsuit, but underneath the wetsuit I used to have a rash vest, I used to have leggings, and a swimming costume. On my head I used to have a balaclava, a neoprene strapped hat, and then my silicone hat on top of that. I just look like a Michelin man, and I look weird. And then from there, just a few years later, I have gone to the absolute extreme. It's just weird.
That is just incredible. Isn't that just amazing? And that just shows the tenacity, but also how we desensitize, doesn't it? I mean, you being the very extreme, very obvious kind of example of that, and of course with all your training and the safety aspect that you've, obviously had to take all of those things very seriously. But certainly not in contrast, I'm very much a sea dipper, not a sea swimmer, but I've noticed that over those dips, you do build up this sensitivity. And when I put my wetsuit on to go surfing, I'm absolutely toasty. It's just the most wonderful feeling, because when you do start to get a bit more used to, swimming in just swimmers, it really builds something in you, doesn't it? I'm not saying I don't have cold days, but I think there's an incredible resilience there.
There is. It's training, and it's definitely a mindset. That for me, doing cold water swimming, you're talking to yourself all the time. You're making yourself believe that you've got this wonderful thing going through your body, circulating, and that you're not cold and you are warm, and you can visualize your porridge in your stomach, and it's the engine. You're feeling your hands get really brutally cold, but you're having to send good thoughts to them. The whole thing, actually, for me, it's out of, I've done a triathlon when I was 67, triathlons, 3 of them, when I was 67, 68. A lot of talking goes on then, about getting to the finish line. But I can honestly say the iSmile training has taught me a lot about myself, and it makes me believe that none of that training, if somebody said I couldn't for some reason do any more iSmile swimming or something tomorrow, what I've learned from that, I know I will carry that, in very adverse moments that maybe I'll have to come in the future. But I realise that I can call on strength, and I can believe in myself. You can do amazing things and recover from things if you've got the strength to believe that in yourself. Yes.
That is absolutely wonderful. And I can't wait to talk to you more on the mindset and all of those amazing transferable resilient skills for life generally, as well as for the most incredible achievement that you've had. But we're going to have your second song now, very fitting. We're going to go for some Ice Ice Baby, aren't we? And this is just such fun and such high energy. I love it. So thank you, Django, for playing that one for us now.
Okay.
KindaSound, tuning in for change.
Welcome back to the Gifts Within Adversity with me, Stella Grace, and my phenomenal, incredible guest and fellow mermaid, Jerrie Roberts. I say that actually, but by far, Jerrie, your achievement is just so incredibly extreme. To be the oldest person ever to have swum an ice mile. I just love that. We're starting to touch on the resilience and the mindset. And I'm a firm believer like you that mindset is everything, in terms of what we do. And, I really noticed that in my sports and passions, that it's absolutely key for depending on how, not just a sport actually, for depending on how our day really pans out, doesn't it? Our mindset can go one way or the other, and it's such a facet of how we can adopt our own self-mastery and empowerment. And when we've talked before about being our own best friend. So you've spoken a lot about how you've touched on how, that self-talk. Do you want to say a bit more about that?
I can remember incidents where I had a previous swim buddy in the early stages, and we used to swim in the pool, and we were the exact same speed at one another. That's quite unusual, to find somebody that swims exactly the same. And then we progressed to wanting to do sea swimming, so we had to get some wetsuits. So we just bought some secondhand wetsuits, different brands. And somebody had said that wetsuits can either make you swim well or maybe not so well. So it is important in finding the right one. Well, my friend, we both started swimming and she just zoomed off. Wasn't used to that because we'd always done everything together. And I wasn't getting anywhere and I started crying. Nobody saw because I was behind goggles. And I was ashamed of myself. And I did talk to myself and, do I want to do this? I don't want to do this if I'm going to cry and I'm not happy, to be up the speed of somebody else. So, yes, it was a light bulb moment, really. And I told myself from that day that I wasn't going to chase anybody else's arse. So that was it, really.
I love that. And turning that experience into such a great metaphor, again, a really transferable metaphor, and to propel you forward. And I love that. It's such a great example and a great metaphor for overcoming, something that feels adverse and then utilizing it for channeling your energy into, overcoming whatever. And of course, with your swimming.
But you've got to do things for yourself. It's no use trying to be like somebody else, which is what that was. It's got to be, I've got to be there for me. And it's my journey. And if it makes me happy, then, be happy with that, because you'll never be happy if you're always chasing. Although something like a triathlon is about chasing somebody. But you don't want to lose your own identity. It's still, if you can't quite keep up with the next person, still enjoy that journey. Otherwise, you've wasted all that time and energy and training and not be happy. You've got to be happy and have self-belief and pat yourself on the back. Otherwise, you won't be happy, and being happy is important.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. And it's, again, such a great transferable reflection that we can all utilize for different things we take on in life. And it's not always about the race, but it's about, us feeling happy that we've achieved something, or that we're in the moment enjoying something that we love doing, So it's that incredible feeling and uplift of, pursuing passions and things that fill us up and bring us joy. And if we haven't got that, it's quite a sad day, isn't it? And equally, I totally agree with you, if we haven't got self-belief, you kind of may as well pack up and go home, really, mightn't you?
Yeah, and it's great to have goals. It doesn't have to be sporty goals, but a reason to get up in the morning, whatever your goal is. And that routine, and I hate routine generally. I like life to be spontaneous. But I think with goals, there is that sense of you do have to, it's wonderful to be able to see the improvement of whatever you're aiming for and pat yourself on the back for when, for every little step you take, if it's been a good day, that it's been productive, and, don't dwell on days where it doesn't go so well, because that's how it is. It does go up and down.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the ride of life, isn't it? Always knowing that in either extreme or in either sense, the ups and the downs, this too shall pass. And it's a metaphor I often remind myself coming back to, because we do all have our, adversities. It's part of the foundation of, the inspiration behind this show. So it's how we come through that and how we grow beyond that. And, all of your fascinating tales and wisdom is, absolutely great for the listeners. And I'm really pleased as well to hear from you, because it's just so passionate and inspirational. And I think the other thing too, because I know something else you were quite mindful about other than mindset and understanding that is absolutely key in everything we do. But of course, there is a real safety aspect to what you do, isn't there? And it's as much as we can go dipping and we can go swimming, and we could all build up with training to, a certain standard that we might set a goal. But there's some real key safety aspects to what you've done, Jerrie, isn't there?
There is. Water safety is paramount, and the sea, it's got powers in it, the waves, everything. You've got to know what you're doing, but just even for cold water, especially, it's not something you can just dive into. You may see some people dive into extreme, but for me, even after all these years of doing it, I still have to acclimatise, because your brain, if you dive in, it doesn't know what's happened to you. And you'll find a lot of people might have done that and they're just disorientated, because what happens is the blood wants to draw in the shock, cold water shock, all the water away from your brain, from your extremities, your legs, your arms. It's fighting to go to your heart. But if you do it gently, if you do it controlled, and 90 seconds around for getting up to your neck, and another 90 seconds adjusting, and keep dipping your head in the water. That way you won't get brain freeze. But anybody who's listening to this, if you want to do some extreme ice miles, then you do need to train. You do need to always have other people with you. It's not a show-off sport. It's very calm. And you have to respect it, because it is really difficult. But like anything, if you train hard, then you may get there. Yeah.
I think that's another lovely transferable message is, you're out there, you're being your own best friend with mindset, something extreme like you've done, Jerrie. You're in that incredible energy of tenacity. But what's interesting that you totally understandably have touched on when we've spoken is that almost like the team or the coaches behind you, or the safety boat, it's key, isn't it? And I think that again is also really transferable. We are our own best friends, and we will overcome our adversities with the tools that we dig up and really adopt from within. But we can't do it all alone, can we? And I think that's really kind of evident and paramount in something as extreme as your achievement, because it's not something we could just go and hop into and away we go kind of thing. So you've spoken about your coaches being quite significant. Do you want to say a little bit about those people?
Yeah. Well, yes, Pete Wilby, triathlon, was the one that first it helped improve my stroke at the pool. Although he's an elite triathlete himself, he really does have an affinity with the water, and he's got really strong over the years with open water swimming. He trained us so well, and his energy and love for the water. It was always a good experience doing adventure swims and things like that. It was lovely. And other coaches like Devon Sea Swim, they all have so many different talents to where I live in Devon, to support swimmers and take them on fantastic journeys. All the different types of things that you can do around here are incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anyone is very blessed to live near coastline, and the energy of the sea and the coast is really quite special, isn't it? And also something we have to, like you say, very much respect and be mindful of in terms of our safety. And you always do. Apart from the actual ice mile itself, you would normally always swim with a buddy anyway, wouldn't you, generally?
Absolutely. My swim buddy, Ziggy, we've done so much together. We've had many positive moments, many negative moments. But it is incredible. I don't think we could have done what we've done without each other. We have done certain swims separately. That happens because my friend's now much faster than me, so therefore we can't swim in tandem with a boat, which is why I did a very long solo swim another summer ago. That was 22.5K, which was 12.5 hours. And so we are doing separate swims, but we desperately want to do something this year together, because it's been a fantastic journey, and it's always lovely to share something. It's important to share. I mean, even when I was in the Atlantic with my husband, we did a celebration 1,000 miles out at sea, and he said, I think that we should celebrate. And his mother had baked a beautiful cake with almonds on and wrapped it up in greaseproof, and it was in a tin. And he said, this is the moment that we open this cake, because we haven't got an oven on board, so it's very special. And we're eating it there and celebrating. And he said to me then, he said, I always wanted to cross the Atlantic solo. That's been my biggest dream. But he said, now that I'm doing it with you, it's the most amazing thing that I can always be able to share this amazing experience with somebody else. And I think, it's the same for swimming. That was a beautiful thing for him to say to me. But, my friend and I, we have shared so many incredible experiences, and no one can take it away. It's nice to have fear. You've done it, you've got that memory yourself. But if you touch and talk to it, to her, there is that bond, that great feeling when we both did Windermere together, and I was 70 years old. And bless her, she swam a bit slower than she needed to on that, so that we could actually be together and have one escort boat. So, yeah, it's give and take, and we've had some lovely moments together.
Oh, that is just so touching, that, with your husband as well. I think that's really lovely, and that does really encapsulate, the beauty of connection through shared experience, doesn't it? Because you're not just sharing an experience, like you say, it's memory making, but it's so much more than that, because of the ups and downs and the adventures and the challenges, and going through all that, like you say, is incredibly, to me, it's very, soulful and soul building, and really translates lots of key skills to our journey generally. But to share that with another, that's lovely to touch on that, with the bond and the connection within that process as well.
It is, yeah. Unfortunately, on that Windermere swim, though, a day later, I was suffering from water poisoning, and it was when COVID was around, and they said they didn't want me to put me in hospital because I would be so vulnerable. But I couldn't eat for 4.5 days. I had fever, and all my organs were failing. All the numbers had gone down, and paramedics were coming to the house. And that was just through sewage in Windermere.
Wow.
Yeah.
Quite something. And thank goodness you recovered and, have gone on. I mean, it shows as well, doesn't it? The sadness of how we're having to, swim in polluted waters, really, and all of that kind of realm of difficulty. But here we are, soldiering on. And, phenomenal that you made such a recovery and have gone on to, just a couple of years later, break the world record. So that's absolutely phenomenal. And you've had press coverage, haven't you? Rightly say, you've had the ITV involved, and that's stunning. And I'm so pleased for you that your achievement has been, recognised, and because that just inspires so many people. So I just love it. So we're going to have your next song choice, and I know you like the lyrics in this one, and I'm sure the listeners will agree. And this one is Get on the Natch. We'll play that one for us now and come back after the break.
Thank you.
KindaSound Radio. We're tuning in for change.
Welcome back to The Gifts Within Adversity with me, Stella Grace, and my wonderful guest, Jerrie Roberts, inspirational and a phenomenal woman with phenomenal achievements under her belt. A little just to touch on before we wrap up this fascinating show and hearing about Jerrie's amazing story. The Gifts Within Adversity airs every fortnight at 11 on a Friday, and the shows, all of the KindaSound shows, are available on podcast soon after. So they're replayed the following day on air, on the KindaSound.org website. You can listen via there. And then when they're available as podcasts, you can access those from Audible, Apple, Spotify, and of course through the KindaSound.org website. So if you miss anything live, you can always catch the replay or the podcast. So yes, so Jerrie, thank you again so much for coming on and sharing all of your fantastic wisdom and inspiration about the sea and about your phenomenal ice mile and so much more. I could spend so much longer talking to you about all your adventures because they're just so exciting. Where can people find you if they want to, follow a bit more about your journey?
I'm on Facebook as Jerrie Roberts, Jerrie Roberts, Ice Smile World Record Attempt. And other than that, Instagram at Jerrie Mermaid. And there's the actual Ice Mile on YouTube, but I don't know if the link can be said or how that gets over to your listeners. Other than
I'm not actually sure. I think so. Was the ice mile recorded?
Well, yes. There's a video that we've made of the ice mile, and within that video is the actual recordings of the ratified ice mile of the beginning and the middle and the end. There's snippets of that, so you can actually really get a feel of what it was like on the day. Yeah.
Amazing. That sounds stunning. So people can find that on YouTube.
They can find that on YouTube, yeah.
Amazing. And I guess through your social media links as well, you have your info on that. And exactly. Before we close, is it worth mentioning you wanted to share your coaches links, didn't you, in case that was helpful for anyone else? So we've got Pete Wilby, triathlon.co.uk, and Devon Seaswim.co.uk for your amazing coaches. So that's really wonderful. So thank you so much, Jerrie, for coming on to talk to me today. And we're going to leave with the final song, which is your last choice, the beautiful, mellow, soulful, dulcet tones of Nina Simone and Feeling Good, which is just perfect for wrapping everything up. Thank you so much, Jerrie. I look forward to chatting to you again.
Thank you, Stella. It's been a joy.
Oh, wonderful. Take care.
Bye-bye.